So I am Dr. Paige Bray. I'm Associate Professor of Early Childhood Education and the Director of the Center for Montessori Studies. I've been at the University of Hartford for about 12 years, and I love the university because it has big university attributes like art and music and science and engineers and health professionals and teachers, all on a campus that is very manageable and not a big 30,000 person campus. So you have this huge university feel in a very relational and scaled size. So I'm really happy to talk with you today and to work with my colleague, Dr. Kavanaugh.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kavanaugh, and this is my third year at University of Hartford. I am Assistant Professor of Elementary Education and STEM and Innovation. And one of the things that I love about working here is that I really get to know the students. It's not just you take one class one semester and then they're gone. By the time my students graduate, I really know who they are. I know the things that they're excited about, and I know the kind of teachers that they're going to be. And that makes me really excited about getting to work with students, especially watching them grow and become really thoughtful professionals.
So we're going to work through this PowerPoint for you. It has the essential information. And again, please just feel free to put questions in as we go. The goals of our program in the Department of Education are that we have coursework as well as more intensifying field experiences. That means that you start on your very first semester of your very first year out in the field for about 24 hours. And then over the course of your 4 years, you keep adding that field experience keeps increasing until you're in your half day and then full day student teaching by your senior year. And that's just really integral for us because we know that that develops a sound body of content knowledge. So the math, the reading, the social studies, that content and the developmental information. And that it also makes sure that you see a range of pedagogical strategies, but it also makes sure that you see all the ways that learners can be supported and the ongoing professional opportunity for development opportunities. It also is an opportunity because Hartford has the amazing opportunity for you to be in an urban setting, be in a more suburban setting, and in some cases be in a truly rural setting or more isolated, less populated setting. So we definitely have the opportunity for you to see different kinds of teachers, schools, learning opportunities for you, which just makes you more prepared to work in any environment in the state of Connecticut or any state from which you've come.
So speaking of which, we have a few polls throughout the presentation to help us get to know you a bit. If you are familiar with Poll Everywhere, then you'll be a professional, but in case people are not, my favorite way to engage with these is to go to this address where it says pollev.com. And then you have this kind of annoying thing, which is my name. So it's /Jillian, and then most of my name, CAVAN, and then the numbers there. That's my favorite way. There's one question later on where you can only do it if you go through the web browser. You can actually use your phone web browser and use that site. But if you prefer to do the mobile texting version, you can just text the same code right to this number here, and then you can participate and tell us where you are from. So perhaps where you're calling in from right now would be a reasonable place, or if you designate somewhere else home. And once people start responding, then I'll be able to see the results go up, and I'll show you where our small group is from. So far, it looks like one person has made it into our poll. If you have questions about how to participate, if it's not working for you, please feel free to include that in your questions too. So I'm going to go to the next page so that people can see what it looks like. I hope that it still gives you, yeah, it still gives you the information at the top. So of the 4 people who've responded so far, I am one of them technically because I wanted to make sure it was working for everyone. A couple people are from Connecticut. We got New York and New Jersey represented. I'll give you another minute to engage with this, mostly because we have a few other questions throughout, and so this one's an easy one to test out and make sure that you know how to engage with the activity. All right. Yeah. Outside the US, excellent. We don't know, this is anonymous, but I'm wondering if you are our Montessori International participant today. All right, now we've got a couple from outside the US. Excellent.
Great. Welcome.
Okay, I'm gonna go back and peek and see. We got our 7, so that's just one person didn't participate, which is maybe okay, because maybe it was Mary, our colleague. So thanks, welcome from all the different places. As Dr. Bray was describing, one of the great things about the University of Hartford is this big university feel, including people from all over, including outside the United States, different parts of the country, and also this small town feel because you get to know the people that you are in class with, that you're working with. And so we do have a number of students who are much closer to home. Some people choose to commute and other people live on campus. So there's a wide range of where students are coming from. Just another moment to give you an opportunity to ask any questions if you're interested about where do people come from. Every time we have one of these polls, it gives us an opportunity to pause and give you time to ask questions because of course, that's why you're here, to learn more about us. And if you have specific questions, we can answer them as we go along. Okay. Well, feel free to type away and we'll go to the next slide, but we can answer them at any time. So we threw this slide in here in part because 2020 is a really interesting year for so many reasons, but it is really interesting for people who are thinking about going into a career in education and becoming a teacher. There's been a lot that parents and families are realizing that happens at school that just isn't the same when it happens at home. And since we're here to talk about the education department, we thought we'd ask a couple questions about what did you learn about teaching and learning during this distance learning time of the current moment? So to participate in this, you can just type your answer right in. If you choose to do it on your phone, you just type it in there. If you're on the browser, it should pop up with a new question. Yeah, I was actually going to share a very similar idea. It is hard. I wondered if you feel like expanding, you're welcome to add another thought. The perspective of, is it hard to be the student learning at the distance? Have you seen what it's like to be in a family where there's lots of people learning at a distance? Feel free to share any ideas. Thanks, everyone. These are great. It's hard to learn certain things at home. Even for teachers, it's hard to teach when you don't have all your students. Definitely different. Someone writes, going into special education, the rewards are very different for the different students. Keeping socially distant. Agreed. Building relationships, I think, is something that the field of education realized we do naturally as part of being in a classroom. And it is so different to build relationships when you're far away physically and even, virtually far away from one another. So Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. So we know that this is a particularly interesting moment, but the importance of education is even more essential than ever when we think about providing opportunities for students and going into the world of teaching.
So one of the things that's true about all of our programs in the Department of Education is they are all developmentally centered programs. They're all student centered, both on you, making sure that you're career ready through field experiences, through strong content, through direct contact with faculty members who are not only have been practitioners, but experts in our field related to the area or content that we focus on. You have opportunities for interdisciplinary learning that starts right with the university programs that we'll talk a little bit more about, but also interdisciplinary across education. You'll have courses where for your beginning first course, you'll have all programs in education come together. There's other places during reading courses and other courses where you'll have crossing over with special education and early childhood and secondary, even secondary ed as well. So we really have a strong community engagement. Hartford is a city, but it's functions, kind of think it functions a lot like a town. If you're from here, you know that. There's lots of little communities that are all squished together. And so we have a lot of community engagement partners in very different kinds of public school settings, education, birth through age 12. And those are opportunities that you can benefit from, both from professional development, but also site visits and field experiences. And the student success centered aspect here is we literally have a student success center at the University of Hartford. And that starts you right off with an initial advisor, helps you move through, connects you still to faculty in education. You always have a connection to your education faculty, who then continue that sense of making sure that you're not only surviving, but thriving in the environment, both the classroom at the university, as well as our field placements.
Here's
our faculty.
Yeah. And this just shows that all of these professors, if you, well, I guess maybe I'll let Dr. Bray confirm, but I think you have reason to interact with a wide range of faculty across your 4 years. I think you might get to meet everyone. And as I described, one of my favorite things is that you really get to know them. It's not just a one-time thing.
Yeah, because this is a great slide to be able to point out the elementary education faculty are also literacy faculty for Dr. Abadib and Dr. Zawinski. Dr. Kavak is the math person for early childhood and elementary, so everyone gets to interact with you. Early childhood, I teach the foundational course, so you get a chance to catch up with me. Dr. Donaldson teaches in elementary and integrated as well. Dr. Oliver teaches ed psych, and our special education faculty teach our core special education course that goes to everyone in their sophomore year. So really by your junior year, you will have had opportunity to study with almost all of us. So it's really, we really wrap around our students. We all love what we do. We all really believe so strongly in the power of practitioners doing great work with children and families in schools. And so we really enjoy the work we do. And I think that's to the benefit of our students.
So I think Dr. Bray mentioned this a little bit earlier, but we can expand on this idea of the Center for Student Success and the first year advising.
So everyone has a success seminar. It means that you meet with your first year advisor, who is a person who knows the systems of the university, makes sure to orient you to all of the, whether that's tutoring services, our psychological and mental health, balance, wellness services that can include everything from counseling to yoga, whether that's connecting with accessibility services, and to all of the student life things that happen on our campus, including, going to the Student Success Center and figuring out which club you want to be part of or that doesn't exist and you want to create. So all of that transition to college life, dealing with roommates, all of that, that is a space where you can address that in the first year seminar, and you have an advisor whose sole purpose is to make sure that you're thriving and happy. It also helps you adjust to what's expected in college. There's a little bit, for many students, there's a lot of independence and pacing your own time with a little less class structure as high school. And so that part of that is to adjust to those study skills, organization skills, how to say no to a movie on Thursday at 3 p.m. because you want to do your homework so you can go out later at 7 p.m. All those life things that we all have to juggle when we transition to a new environment. And I think the only thing, no, I think I really just want to underscore getting involved on campus. We have so many ways for students to get involved. And that includes sort of recreational arts and music, as well as our sports opportunity, club sports, and then, very high level engagement sports. So there really is so many things to do on campus that time flies, and lots of interactions happen between people in education, but also just across campus, across all of our colleges. And that's our official Center for Student Success building. We have our whole building and it has a name. So really that is where you do everything for registration, accounts build, other campus resources that we mentioned before, the time management that I mentioned, study skills, first year advising. So you really get everything that you need. You just go right to that office, to your advisor. And what it means is that you could very quickly learn the university systems and how to effectively use them, so that by your second semester of your first year, you're very able to independently function on campus, advocate for yourself, do the things that you need to do.
And it's still there later on, and you're not going to 7 different buildings because everything's all right there. So if you have to go down the hall, it's just 2 doors down instead of, bouncing around.
Yeah. And you start a relationship, one of the advisors who would be the first year seminar person also takes care of education. So when you start a relationship with that person, that's a person that is someone you can connect with even as you move to a full-time faculty advisee or advisor in your sophomore year. And if transfer students come in, you have that same opportunity to have a first year advisor, sort of first term advisor.
So now's a chance for you to tell us a little bit about yourself again. If you're still on the, yeah, all right, you're right there. So feel free to tell us which type of teaching you are interested in. I think I have it set so you can pick more than one, but now I'm questioning that. You might just pick your top choice for right now. Yeah. And of course, you could be totally undecided and just pick one that you think might be interesting. Because nobody's going to hold you to this.
Yeah, and what you're seeing, the choices are also as the state of Connecticut's licensure works. So elementary is that grades 1 through 6. Special education is K through 12. At the undergraduate level, we have an elementary special education dual degree. Early childhood is either birth through kindergarten or pre-K to grade 3. That early childhood is also integrated special education up through kindergarten. And then Montessori education is both at the early childhood and elementary level. And again, other undecided, general ed, gonna figure it out is also welcome.
For sure.
I wanna interject this here because I think it's really worth noting. In some larger universities or state schools, a lot of people are admitted into education, but not everyone will get into the professional program. At the University of Hartford, we admit people, and once we admit you in our education program, we've essentially saved you a seat. So when you get to the point of applying for the professional program halfway through, you have a seat already in early childhood or special education, and people do make changes internally in education all the time. You still have to meet the requirements, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, but it's really important, I think, that people know that if you're admitted to the University of Hartford in education, assuming you do everything you need to do for grade points and those things, you will leave with your education degree. You will not be you'll not be weeded out, or you will not have an opportunity, there won't be a missing a slot you have to elbow for later.
All right, so I think we'll go on to the next.
So the only programs I didn't just mention that I'll come back to, early childhood, elementary education, and if people have questions about this, please throw it into the questions and answers. The integrated elementary special education is what we have at the undergrad level. We do have grad programs in special ed standalone. The Montessori concentration has the Association Montessori International diploma, as well as the state licensure for early childhood or elementary. And in the gray there, it's not that we don't value our secondary English and math colleagues. We appreciate them very much. Technically, if you're interested in secondary English and secondary math, you should make sure to talk to an admissions counselor, because you technically apply to the College of Arts and Sciences in your content area as English or math majors, and then work in partnership with us in the Department of Ed. Our colleagues in math and English are awesome. They're very much part of our larger team. And we very, very much value being able to help, especially in math, right, Jillian? I'll give this a plug, especially in the high needs area of math. Such an important area. So please, if you're interested in those, let us know, or talk to an admissions counselor, because they definitely are part of our larger teacher education programs.
Any questions here about these? Some of the program specifics can get tricky when you're thinking about applying, but it might also be a thing for later on in your admissions journey as you start to narrow things down. Since 50% of the people who responded to the poll said you were interested in special education, I will give one more plug to that integrated program, because if you notice, it's got the 2 grade bands, grades 1 through 6, and then K through 12. And the special thing about this opportunity is that you get 2 distinct certificates, so 2 licenses to teach in the state of Connecticut. And in addition to mathematics being a high needs teaching area, special education often comes on our list of a high needs area. And so having those 2 certifications makes you a very desirable teacher when you go out in the field and start looking for jobs.
And also, just if you're not sure, if you're like, oh, I think I want to teach kindergarten, that's early childhood, but I don't know if I want to, which is integrated up through kindergarten, but maybe I want to be doing elementary, because maybe I want to teach special education 7th grade. It's really okay to go ahead and make your best guess. The first year of everyone, especially the first term of everyone's first year, is almost identical, with very few exceptions. So it's quite easy to come in, and then as you learn more, especially in your field placement, if you choose to make a shift, we all support that. We all are one large department, and we are all committed to having people out in the field teaching and ready. So if you're not 100% sure about that, it's okay. Make your known for now, and come and learn with us. We put AP credits in here. I'll also mention early college credit. Just because we do wind up getting them at some point in the summer. We do want to make sure that we do take AP credits. That all happens through our admissions office. We have a great team there. But we also want to make sure that you can bring in AP credits for general education courses, or for our university interdisciplinary study courses, which is like our core of gen eds, that make sure you have art and science and mathematics, or technology minded, as well as social science. And many of those courses are also focused on diversity and writing and other ways to expand your brain and talents. So AP credits, if you have early college credits, please do make sure to let our admissions office know.
We have a question from Wisteria, who asked, do you offer a dual degree in early childhood and elementary education?
So what that looks like in the state of Connecticut is either the early childhood, because early childhood is technically birth to age 8, which is grade 2, 3. So either people choose the early childhood pre-K to grade 3, if they know that they would really rather work with 3 and 4-year-olds than 4th and 5th graders, or they choose elementary grades 1 through 6 because they're less concerned about the 3, 4, or 5-year-olds. They're more interested in the 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. So that's the choice you do have to make in the state of Connecticut. Again, the early childhood degree is integrated up through kindergarten, and most of our students who are interested in elementary education, because it's so similar, do take the integrated license. They do go ahead and make sure they leave with both.
Okay, we'll go to the next slide. Feel free to follow up on any questions.
Yeah.
This might be more detail than you want at this point in your career, but we included it in here so that maybe Dr. Bray can expand on this idea where no matter what program you take, especially that first year, there's a lot of consistency.
Right. So this is just, and also really wanting in that red box to emphasize that so the EDF 120 course is the foundational course. I teach 2 sections of that with other colleagues, and you always have field work. We've had a few adjustments for COVID in terms of observation, but there is 24 hours of field work built into that. You get to be observing, but you also do have hands-on opportunities. So you're not just sitting at the side of the classroom. You also are working with children in direct ways in small groups. And so you have the Intro to Education course. You do need to get a B or better in any of the education courses. That's part of that professional program I mentioned. The interdisciplinary studies are the ones I mentioned before. It might be philosophy of Indigenous peoples education. It might be politics and environmental science. It might be epidemic and AIDS. It might be technology as a human affair. It might be all these different courses that are really very, very intentionally interdisciplinary. And what's great about those courses is you take them with students from all over the university. So in your early years, you're getting an opportunity to not only come to know your ed students, fellow ed students, but you're really getting a chance to meet people across the university. The Intro to Psychology course, or sometimes it's a sociology course, but that an Intro Social Science course, always have academic writing to support everyone. There is honors level, and then again, some AP credits to do test out. So please do pay attention to that. Our honors program we'll talk more about is a great way to not get pushed further faster, but to really work deeper. And then the subject area major is where you would take your behavioral or interdisciplinary studies, your Montessori studies, and then you have the first year seminar we spoke about. In the spring, you have health concepts, world language. Everyone takes a world language, which also includes sign language. We have a great sign language instructor, and it's really often helpful in the classroom. Mathematics and Elementary School 1. And again, you have a second independent academic writing course, which is really comp and rhetoric. So it's helping you really develop as a thinker and writer. And then more of those subject area major courses, and another opportunity to be meeting students across the university through those interdisciplinary studies courses. So one of the things we pride ourselves on at the University of Hartford is how diverse our campus is. Not only do we have people from around the globe, but we also have an incredible diversity of race, ethnicity, religion, and pretty good geographical disbursement, excuse me. I was thinking, I'm from Colorado, so I'm sort of one of the further west folk, but we do have great diversity on our campus, and so often we have people wanting to do study abroad. Because of the professional program, it's a little bit tricky, but spring of your sophomore year, or then winter term and summer term spring break opportunities are really a great way to expand your horizons, immerse yourself in a culture that you're less familiar with. And our study abroad office is very supportive, and we really encourage people to have some sort of cross-cultural deep experience, both by language if possible, but even just cross-culturally. It's just really so important.
while we expand on this, I'll give you the opportunity. This is the one question where if you are texting, it won't work. But if you have any interest in studying in different places across the globe, we thought we might just give you an opportunity to share if there isn't a direct partnership. Our study abroad office is really dynamic and working with students all the time. I know at some universities, especially larger state schools, it's sort of like, if you're an education student, you don't necessarily go to abroad, or you go to like one single place, because there's just a lot of requirements when you get a professional license. And so having a full semester that is intentionally reserved for students to do these kinds of cross-cultural exploration and understanding, it really does make you a better educator to know more about people who are different from yourself. And it's something that we really value, so we want to make sure that students have the opportunity to do that.
And for some folks, as people are answering, for some people they use study abroad too, to really learn more about their own culture. And, you know, experience to connect to their own heritage or, you know, cultural origins. So, and like many schools, we have our own programs, and then we tap into hundreds of others. And again, that's really, it's an important part of our larger education. I'm going to answer this question by type, depending upon what happens to. I can actually just say this out loud. So someone's asking about what do I do if I want to change my major? I think I'm refining it, and the answer is that you just need, if you've been accepted, then you just need to formally write to admission@hartford.edu, or speak to the admissions counselors about how to, just saying you would like to change your major. They need that in writing if you've already been accepted. If you're applying, you can just go ahead and notify them. And if you have more specific questions about any major, please let us know.
So it looks like maybe these are the only people who have the browser open. This one is fun to click on and see the parts of the world, but a little bit tricky to respond if you're using your phone. So now we're have some ideas about enrichment opportunities. I think Dr. Braid did a nice job of sort of alluding to this is coming up. Some of the things listed here, Kappa Delta Pi is a highly respected education-focused honor society, and we have a really active chapter working in service and just these ideas of continuing professional development. How can we be better teachers and also do fun things for one another as a community? I'll let Dr. Braid share.
Best Buddies is a branch of people who are working with people who have developmental or intellectual differences and doing a weekend program and other adventures together. There are lots of research opportunities in our various centers in the college, as well as some opportunity work study and other opportunities for undergrads as well, either working, some people work on an honors thesis, which is the next piece, the honors program, which I really can't say enough about. It is really such a great opportunity to work closely with faculty, and you can really tap into it in your first year or so. You don't have to commit to it right now until you get to campus, and you really get to pick your path in what you choose to make your honors courses. Student ambassadors is another great way. The red caps, you've seen lots of pictures of the red caps, everyone wearing their red shirts, and they run everyone around. And so there's lots of great ways for, especially we teacher folk who tend to like to be with people and do things, lots of great ways to engage that both further your person and your professional self.
So again, an opportunity for you to share a little bit about the kinds of enrichment opportunities that you hope to join in. Feel free to select any of the ones that we've discussed already. You can check as many as you like. So you can only pick each one once, but you can pick more than one of each. There are high achieving sports teams. I think some of our sports teams are Division I, but there's also many, many intramural sports for just having a good time, recreating. I know many of my students are participating in those regularly, which gives you another opportunity to interact with students across the entire university.
Now, I'll add here too that if you are an athlete, you absolutely can be in education. Sometimes it means juggling a couple of things depending on what season your sport's in, but we totally work with athletes to make sure that they can leave with their program completed. There's also a women's advancement on this slide, and that's one of the sort of subsets of leadership development for women. We also have sororities and fraternities on campus, many of which are very much about social engagement and about leadership too. So lots of ways to enrich and enjoy and be social.
All right, it looks like we've had a number of people get to share their ideas. Best Buddies seems pretty popular, so that's exciting. I didn't know we're going to talk about our campus partners, but the Fieldwork Institution right at the back door might be
Farmington Valley Transitional Academy.
Yeah, so hopefully, I think we have a slide about that, right?
I think so.
Yeah, we'll come back to it if we don't. So I can speak a little bit about the honors program. This describes the eligibility requirements, but as Dr. Bray mentioned, there are opportunities to join in later on, especially if you're finding that the college experience, you're really ready to dive in a little bit deeper. One of the things that I think is really great and flexible about this program is that you don't have to take, you know, a specific honors course if you don't want to. I have a number of students who just get really excited about, you know, working with young children and teaching math, and they're like, hey, maybe I could make this an honors course. And so you can make an agreement directly with a specific instructor of different courses during your term, and you can pick to deepen your study in something that's just interesting to you. And so rather than sort of always having to be achieving to somebody else's standards, I think this honors program does a great job of cultivating the creativity and the passions of the students who are excited about it. And so it's pretty fun that way.
So one of the summer readings we have for the foundations courses last couple of years has been reading The Hate You Give. And we left it on this here we talk about it at orientation too, but it's just really part of the ways that our programs, both by the accreditation that we need to meet, push us to be current and to be constantly improving our programs and how we're helping you teach the best you can to the range of students you may encounter in a first year or over a career. And that this is just part of what we're making sense of as a community, both students and faculty, thinking about what's happening in the world, how are things shifting, what are our responsibilities as educators. So there's a real social component to our programs. Our three key dispositions in our programs are engagement, professionalism, and global mindedness. And those really guide us to think about how we can be reflective practitioners. How do we keep improving? All of your faculty will model that. What we're very much about improving, even before some of the immediate shifts happening here. We're always looking for best practices, always thinking about how we're meeting and how we're modeling best practice. So this is just a slide to say, here's a contemporary book that we've woven in. Not a textbook, a real social book, a real book that really people who are coming right out of high school into college and thinking about education can get their minds around. This is just to remind people the fieldwork, first semester in your first year, first semester your sophomore year, junior year, it's across the semester in various ways and across both semesters. Then typically in your fall, your senior year, unless you're an athlete and that's your season, you do a half day, and in the spring of your senior year, full day. And fingerprinting is one of our realities. It keeps kids safe and it keeps schools safe. And so that will be part of our journey, that and some various technological platforms, but those are all the details that help support and surround the clinical experiences that you can count on from your very first semester at the University of Hartford. So this is an important slide. No matter where you're from, we just want to make sure that you understand when you leave the University of Hartford, assuming you successfully complete everything you're supposed to, we take all of your materials and we then take them to the State Department of Ed in Connecticut and in a nice little box. And the state of Connecticut puts a bow on it and gives you a teacher certification. And because they know the University of Hartford's program and they know that we've prepared you and that they check on us and our accreditors and all those things are happening and we're up to par and sending out great teachers. So no matter what state you're in, you are going to want to do that initial certification in Connecticut. Then, because almost all of those states, 40 plus states, have reciprocal agreements. They're part of this interstate compact, which means then you take your piece of paper from Connecticut and you go, hey, hi, Colorado. I'm a teacher in Connecticut. And the Colorado says, great, you can be a teacher in Colorado too. We're going to ask you to take a history course, or Massachusetts asks you to take another little test, but you get a probational year typically. So it's always much, much, much easier to complete your state education licensure certification in Connecticut, in the state where you have done your program, and then take that ticket, if you will, take that license, take that piece of paper that isn't a piece of paper anymore, and make sure to transfer that to whatever state you are interested in. If you're worried about your state, you can look that up at the interstate agreements, and I'm happy to answer, we both can answer more questions about that. But really important that you just think from the beginning, I'm going to go to the University of Hartford, graduate, get my Connecticut teacher's license. And again, Connecticut is one of the few states that has such high reciprocity that transfers to so many other states, because then you, without a doubt, will have what you need in hand to go and teach.
So we had a nice idea of where you might like to be working as a teacher across the country. This is just an opportunity for you to think a little bit closer to home. If you had any thoughts about where you think you might want to live when you are at the University of Hartford. As I mentioned, there are some people who choose to commute, so they live at home. Many students live in really lovely dorm experiences. We have on-campus apartments. There are some students who choose to live off campus, and some people just have not even thought about this yet. So feel free to share your thoughts if you have ideas.
As you're voting, I'll just say we have both sort of like townhome-like, more typical dorm-like, but we also have really, really exciting learning community floors. So like the entire floor is about environmental education, or the entire floor. So you may be interdisciplinary, but your floor is focused on this kind of action or this sort of theme, I guess we could say. So that's one of the other ways you can connect with people who you are interested in.
Give it just another couple seconds in case people were changing their mind, it seems, maybe decided not to live as home. Well, thanks for sharing your thoughts. And of course, as you, oh, go ahead.
I just want to add, because I do teach the first years, over 50 of them at this moment, that really the dorm experience that people are having is really positive right now, that they really are, people are being so responsible, and people at the university itself, because this isn't my part of the work at the university, but my colleagues at the university have really made for such safe and supportive environments for our students. And that's true in their classrooms as well, as Jillian and I both know. But I just really, the dorm experience and the campus life experience, again, so much diversity, so many amazing different interdisciplinary opportunities to connect with people, and yet on a campus where you're not, not trying to find your way across campus on a 5-minute bus ride. You're just a nice stroll to the library or to the commons. So this is a little glimpse about a little bit about our partners, but also just about our social media presence. One of the ways you can find out more about us and just sort of get a sense of what we're doing, if you haven't done so already, The first piece there is an FAQ session with an alumna who is both undergrad and grad. The second piece, the Coming Together While Living Apart, is an example of a virtual conference that just happened this spring. We have tons of professional development opportunities, alumni networking opportunities. There's like 4 times a year, there's at least one kind of professional webinar or another. We've just launched an entire diversity, equity, and inclusion speaker series. There's resume boot camps from our career services, which absolutely is now not something you go to in your senior year. Career services, they're meeting you your first term. There's service learning and career services. So they're your partners in being your best you from day one. And the third picture over there is a picture of Bree, who's actually an early childhood person. She did a UHeart takeover on Instagram, sharing her new classroom. And then also the final one is a picture actually of a Montessori event that brought a bunch of a diversity of Montessorians together to think about Montessori education. And then of course, everyone in education is welcome. So whether it's interview practice or meeting a group of principals and a principal panel, those kind of events are happening either in person or virtually throughout your career at the University of Hartford. That is our department website. That is our department chair, Dr. Sood. That's her email. If you have questions, you can reach out to her directly. It's of course also with any of our admissions staff. If you happen to be on campus, Hillier Hall 206 is Command Central for her education department. That's our department office. And again, we are more than happy to answer any questions you might have. The only thing that I would say a little bit more about is about partners. We really have a range. I mentioned partners before. It's partners in schools, but it's also partners in doing after school work, partners in working with, like in my Working with Families class, we make literacy materials and we share those with the local library so that they have things that parents can borrow that just get wear and tear. So there's just all sorts of ways that we work in partnership around education, but also just community and health and human wellness.
So we'll hang out for a while and people can feel free to ask questions of us if you have specific education questions that are about courses or things like that. And if you have questions that are more general about the admissions process or the student experience outside of the education department, we have our admissions department colleagues who are here to answer those for you as well.
I'm going to go back to a question a little bit earlier. Sarah responded that we are a test optional school, which is awesome. One of the things is if you have taken a test, we can use those in the education department. The State Department of Education requires us to have some baselines for you. So if you have taken the test at some point in the department, you might be asked for those, but it is not a requirement of our admissions. At this point. In true good educational form, we're all learning more about how best to understand what learners really know and how best for them to authentically demonstrate that. Can I talk about that? Yes, I could. So the early childhood programs, elementary program, elementary special, and the integrated program, people choose from different subject area majors. So many people do a behavioral studies major, which is a mix of psychology, sociology, communications, and some poli-sci or politics. In the folks that choose to do Montessori, they choose Montessori studies. And that means that in that subject area major, they're actually completing some psychology from the typical social sciences, but then they focus on Montessori's human development, Montessori's application and exploration of content through the different content areas, And when you complete that part of your coursework, you are eligible for an AMI diploma, which is what I call the teacher's passport. It's the diploma that Association Montessori International awards people, and it lets you teach in Montessori schools anywhere around the world. And so then your Association Montessori International diploma is paired with your bachelor's degree, and then is also paired with your state certification. So you have full state certification in early childhood or elementary, but in this case it would be early childhood. So you'd be certified pre-K to grade 3 in early childhood. You'd have your AMI diploma, and you would of course have your bachelor's degree. So similar to the way that for the integrated elementary, you have special ed and elementary with your bachelor's degree. I'm happy to talk a little bit about the special ed program and then maybe tag off. So again, because I'm an early childhood person, special ed for me starts in birth and goes to grade K. So that is one aspect of special education, that birth to K is integrated, early identification, early intervention. Then the special education license in Connecticut that is not birth to K is the K to 12 special education license. And that is actually, has you eligible to teach in special education settings and classrooms. It's what we still sort of call the generalist. Connecticut has not broken that down further at this point. So you are eligible to teach in K-12. Typically people, when paired with the elementary, really are interested in focusing on elementary, because if they're interested in, infants and toddlers or birth to 3, then they're doing the early childhood. But with that K-12 license, you also have the grades 1 through 6 elementary license. And really, I think all of us advise people, if you're interested in elementary, you should do the integrated program. There's literally, I think, a 2-course difference. And if that's 3?
Just one, I think.
Oh, 1. Okay, 1. There's barely a difference. And so really, if nothing else, even if you don't want to teach special ed 7th grade, you're just a better informed practitioner. It really makes it integrated for you as an elementary teacher in the ways that early childhood does too.
And so I can speak a little bit. I don't teach the special education courses, but I do work a lot with the integrated students. They're often taking my mathematics methods course on learning about how to teach math at the same time that they are taking courses that are identifying learning differences and thinking about recording assessments and understanding more about students. We have another great course about differentiating instruction that these students take. And so one thing that I think is great about this program is that you start to realize how, as you build up more knowledge and skills, how integrated these ideas are. So if you're learning about, well, how do I make it easier for my students to be excited about learning geometry? Some of these ideas about, well, let's make sure that the content is accessible to them. How can we be doing many different opportunities to discover what children know at the same time? And so I think the fact that it is integrated is what we call the program, but the special education courses really enhance your ability to engage with students thoughtfully, and they happen sort of concurrently with the other courses where you're just learning about how to be a teacher at the same time. So I'm going to mark your question that we answered it, but feel free to ask follow-up questions if there was something that you were interested in that we did not cover.
I think the only other thing I would add while people are thinking or typing is, I think this is true across all programs. There's just such a lovely connection of our students. We have, again, manageable sizes. You'd have a cohort of, 15 to 40 students, and so you come to know people over time, and people really support each other, watch each other's back, help each other out. and in most ways doing that with your faculty. But it's just a really nice sense of camaraderie and really a professional learning community is what it really quickly becomes by junior year at the latest. And it's just a really, it's a lovely way to learn more about yourself and learn more about what you want to do in the world.
And I know this is pretty far away for you right now when you're thinking about school, but those 4 years of a college experience to get a whole network of professionals who are there for you for your whole life. These are other people who are excited about working with children and who are trying to make the world a better place by teaching and providing education. And so the fact that you get to know these other students is a big deal because you have those contacts forever when you go out and are trying out new things and you're in different schools and districts across the country or across the world.
So I think at this semester, you and I are both teaching like all formats, right? Face-to-face, remote, hybrid, everything. And I have to say, I'm missing seeing people's faces. I realize how much even on Zoom I get to see my students' faces and tease my 8:30 first year class that vertical's required for class. So I'm hoping that everyone who's out there in listening is getting the answers that they need, and please feel free to ask questions or just know that we're excited to have you figure out if UHeart's the right fit for you, and we really value the next generation of teachers coming through. You're most welcome. And I think we have as much as like 15 minutes if people have questions. So don't be shy. There's usually if you have a question, 2 other people do too. So we're both big inquiry people too. We love questions. We ask lots of questions. I don't know if Victoria or Nora had anything that they wanted to make sure to say also, but I think you had another portion of all your admissions stuff. Again, our admissions staff is great about connecting with people.
The only thing, hi, it's Vicki. The only thing I'd like to just add is if anyone else is interested in any of the other programs, we have a prosthetics and orthotics tonight at 5 to 6 p.m. Tomorrow, physical therapy and exercise science and radiologic technology. I just wanted to add that. And if there's any other questions, even about admissions, we do have an admission counselor on here too that can answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. Thank you, Sarah. One of our former colleagues always called us the college. We're the college of the teachers and the healers. And it's such a great, it is a great opportunity for us in education to work with physical therapists and occupational therapists and nurses and the prosthetics and orthotics folks. There's just do such amazing work, and we're all around it. We're all around a pretty good, we're a pretty good positive, like there's a lot of good happening in the world, and we can keep it spinning kind of college, so.
And as we mentioned, the idea of changing majors, it does happen. People change their mind. And so having this huge variety of opportunities real close by is a very nice thing when you're trying to figure out where you want to spend your time in college. I have a great student right now who's really committed to education, but she came in thinking that she was going to be physical therapy, and that just wasn't for her. And so, it might be the same other direction as well, even though we'd be sad to lose our education students, but people find different passions as they experience different courses and learn more about it.
Yeah, we have nurses crossover. It's the nature of the work, right? Well, one fun fact is that I have children, sons, 14 and 18. So I am well past the early childhood years that I love and adore, which you have lots of, you have the two early childhood age students that I adore, but I have to confess, I do love having teenagers too. So we get the great range of spending time with children and being out in schools. And I guess I would also just add, truthfully, all of us on the faculty have one foot in school somehow, whether we're working on admissions, working on accreditation standards, whether we're coaching, whether we're helping develop assessments, whether we're creating learning communities. So we're in the mix because we love it there, and welcome you to it.
I'm going to share a question. I think this is a follow-up from Wisteria. She was looking for a little bit of clarification on, does the early childhood have integration with special education? If so, do you have to choose between special education and Montessori? And so I'm going to let Dr. Bray answer this.
Thanks. So in early childhood, the integrated component comes with the actual license in Connecticut. So there isn't such a thing as early childhood that isn't integrated. So you don't get two pieces of paper, but you have to have an integrated license, either birth to K or the pre-KK part of your license is integrated, but not the grades 1, 2, 3. So you do not have to make a choice. If you choose early childhood and Montessori, you have the early childhood integrated components plus the Montessori. It's different in elementary. Elementary, you do have to make a choice at this point. We've been trying to figure it out, but at this point, for this moment, you do have to make a choice between elementary special or elementary Montessori. But in early childhood, the good news is for you, you don't need to make that choice. It's all built into the structures.
I will share with my co-presenters that I actually teach in just a few minutes, so I'm going to have to get going, but it's been a delight getting to know you a little bit through some poll questions, and hopefully we get to hear more from you soon.
Thanks, Julian.
Thanks, great working with you.
Great, Wisteria, I'm glad that clarifies it. And happy to answer any other questions. I can hang out. I'm guessing some people are maybe attending with college counselors or with parents, or so really, especially with admissions folks here, we're more than happy to answer any question. Nora, Victoria, or Sarah, is there any reason to talk a little bit more about transfer students? That's the only other thing I think we didn't discuss, for if anyone's interested in transferring.
Sure, I think that would be good. And then we could probably just close it down. It seems like everyone's gotten most of their questions, but I think that's a great idea in case there is anyone wondering about that.
Sure. So for the 5 folks that are left, if you are interested in transfer, we did talk about APA and early college credit. That would just be courses you bring in. But if for some reason people have done a semester or a year, or that they've completed even an associate's degree program, we do take very seriously our transfer students. And we also are happy to work with people a little bit earlier on, like to make sure that what you're taking transfers. There's some clear information on the website. We're making good use of that now and cleaning that up. But if you are interested in transferring, it's totally possible to basically have your gen eds done and then come in for 3 or 3.5, 3, or even a 2-ish year program. Usually you have to wind up with a summer course or 2 or a winter course, just because something won't quite transfer. But it's very, very possible to still complete in 4 years as a transfer student. Nora, Vicky, and Sarah, what are your favorite things about the University of Hartford?
I would have to say, I would have to say the faculty. I've worked in a couple of different places, higher education, and I find that the faculty here is very involved. Like they don't mind doing things like this and interacting with students, and I find that very, very refreshing. And I think it's a good, it's just very good to see that. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I've always said that my favorite aspect is really the diversity of students that we bring into the university, especially in the size of the university that we are, only being about 5,000 undergraduate students. All the different types of programs that we have and where students are coming from, they just bring a lot of different interests and a lot of different ideas. And I think we're really able to collaborate with our students well at the university, and it just makes for a really unique place.
Great, yeah.
I've always appreciated the sense of community that the campus has. And for me I graduated from undergrad in 2014 from the University of Hartford. I've seen tremendous change on the campus, all positive in just 6 years. So I think it speaks to how the university is constantly looking forward and looking at ways that it can make improvements and changes across campus, so that the students that come afterwards continue to have an even greater experience than what I had or those that came before me.
Yeah, it really is a great community feel. That's what I started by saying too. You have the amazing diversity, the intellectual diversity, the different people that you draw to a university setting while still knowing people as you walk across campus and saying hi or grabbing a coffee or, yeah, I agree. It's a really great place to learn and grow. And Connecticut's not all half bad either. Our location's pretty nice. We have a few more minutes for attendees. If there's any last questions you have, happy to take them.
Maybe you could just put in your information again before, and then we can probably wrap it up, I think.
I don't know. Can I do that?
Yeah, you can click on panelist, and then there's an arrow and it'll say panelists and attendees.
In the chat.
Yep, sorry.
I was looking at I've been so focused on the questions and answers. I'm actually going to put, and this is not to put anything on her other than she usually asks that we do this. Dr. Sood is the department chair.
Okay, yeah.
She is literally Sood at Hartford. .edu. I did give that Montessori folks my email before, just because I am the person you'll get pointed to for Montessori. Like Dr. Sood, I'm Bray at hartford.edu, but Dr. Sood likes to generally hear from people if they have questions. So that is her name and email.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, always a pleasure to work with you, lovely humans. Thank you, Nora, Victoria, and Sarah. And thanks to our attendees for finding out more about the University of Hartford. Hope you're a great fit. Feel free to join us another time to find out more.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right. Take good care.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.